You were 7 years old, but you felt 30. You didn't play like other children. You didn't scream or cry or demand attention. You watched. You waited. You learned to read the room before you entered it. You became the peacekeeper, the emotional translator, the one who made sure everyone else was okay. And the world looked at you and said, "Wow, you're so mature for your age." But no one ever asked what you had to sacrifice to become that way. This is the psychology of a child who grew up too fast. And if that was you, this video will explain what happened to you and why it still affects you now. Because growing up too fast doesn't just steal your childhood, it rewires your brain. It shapes how you love, how you work, how you rest, or more accurately, how you can't. Over the next 20 minutes, we are going to explore what happens when a child is forced to become an adult before they are ready. Why you became hypervigilant. Why you can't ask for help. Why love feels dangerous. Why rest feels impossible. And most importantly, how to finally let that child come home. If you've ever felt like you were born exhausted, this is for you. Let's begin. Before we go deeper if exploring the hidden patterns that shape who you are resonates with you, welcome. I'm Martins, and I study the psychology beneath behavior. Subscribe if this kind of depth speaks to you. Alright, let's continue. Let me tell you what was happening in your childhood home. There was instability. Maybe it was addiction. Maybe it was mental illness. Maybe it was rage or grief. Or just the cold silence of a parent who couldn't show up. And somewhere in that chaos, you made a choice that wasn't really a choice. You decided, if I don't hold this together, no one will. Psychologists call this parentification. It's when a child becomes the emotional caretaker of the family. Not because they want to, but because survival demanded it. You became the therapist, the mediator, the one who managed everyone's emotions so the house didn't collapse. And here's what most people don't understand. This rewires your developing brain. Because a child's brain is designed to be protected, to be nurtured, to learn emotional regulation from adults, not for them. But you didn't get that. Instead, your nervous system learned something else entirely. It learned your needs are dangerous. Their needs are urgent. It learned love is conditional. Safety is earned. It learned you are only valuable when you are useful. And so you disappeared. Not physically, but emotionally, psychologically. The real you, the messy, needy, playful child, went into hiding. And in its place emerged a version of you that could survive. The responsible one, the mature one, the strong one. And that version performed so well that even you forgot it was a mask. You might be asking, why would a child willingly take on that role? The answer is simple, and it's heartbreaking. Children will do anything for attachment, even abandon themselves. This isn't a choice, it's biology. A child's survival depends on their caregivers. If their caregivers are unstable, the child adapts. They become whatever the parent needs them to be: quiet, helpful, invisible, strong, because the alternative is unbearable. The alternative is abandonment, rejection, being unloved. So the child makes an unconscious calculation: if I take care of them, they'll keep me. This is called trauma bonding. And it's not weakness, it's intelligence. It's a survival strategy that your young brain created to keep you safe. But here's the tragedy. What saved you then is destroying you now. Because that strategy, people-pleasing, over-functioning, emotional caretaking, doesn't stop when you leave childhood. It follows you into your relationships, into your career, into every decision you make. You're still that child, trying to earn love by being useful, trying to avoid abandonment by never asking for anything, trying to feel safe by controlling everything. But you can't. And the exhaustion is starting to show. Let's talk about what this looks like in adulthood. Hypervigilance. You're always scanning for danger. You read micro-expressions. You sense tension before anyone else does. You walk into a room and immediately assess the emotional temperature. This isn't intuition. This is survival mode. Your nervous system never learned to turn off. Hyperindependence. You refuse help. You push people away. You'd rather suffer alone than risk being a burden. Because asking for help was dangerous in childhood, it made you vulnerable. It made you weak. So you learned to do everything yourself. And now, you're so independent that you're isolated. Difficulty with rest. You can't sit still. You can't relax. Rest feels wrong, dangerous, undeserved. Because in childhood, your value was tied to your productivity. If you weren't fixing something, you weren't worth keeping. So now, even when you're exhausted, you keep moving. Because stopping feels like dying. Relationships feel like jobs. You overfunction. You manage. You fix. You anticipate needs before they're spoken. And you wonder why you feel resentful. Why love feels exhausting. Why you're always giving but never receiving. It's because you learned that love is a transaction. You give peace. And maybe they'll give you safety. But that's not love. That's survival. You struggle with boundaries. Saying no feels like betrayal, like cruelty, like you're failing. Because in childhood, your boundaries were never respected. Your needs didn't matter, so you learned to erase yourself to keep the peace. And now, you say yes to everything. You accommodate everyone. You disappear again and again, and you hate yourself for it. Here's what no one talks about. When you grow up too fast, you don't just lose your childhood. You lose developmental stages you can never get back. You never learn to play without purpose, to rest without guilt, to need without shame. You never got to be messy, to be irrational, to cry and be comforted, to fail and be forgiven. You never got to be a child. And that loss, it's a grief that lives in your body, in your nervous system, in the way you flinch at affection and freeze at praise. You carry an ache you can't name, a loneliness that exists even when you're surrounded by people, because the child you were is still inside you, and they're still waiting for someone to notice, waiting for someone to say, you didn't deserve that. You were just a child. You shouldn't have had to carry that, but no one says it. So you keep going, keep performing, keep pretending you're fine, but fine is a mask too, and you know it. Real question, does this resonate with you? Were you the child who grew up too fast? You don't have to share details, but drop a comment if this is hitting close to home, because I guarantee you're not alone in this. Let's be brutally honest about what this looks like now. You're the friend everyone leans on, but no one asks how you're doing. You're praised for your independence, but secretly, you're terrified of being seen as weak. You're successful, responsible, high-functioning, but you're also exhausted, numb, running on fumes. You apologize for crying. You downplay your pain. You say, I'm fine, when you're falling apart. You attract people who need fixing, partners who are emotionally unavailable, friends who take but never give. And deep down, you have this fantasy that maybe, just maybe, someone will finally notice, that you'll get to fall apart, that someone will hold you and say, you don't have to be strong anymore. But here's the truth. No one's coming to rescue the child you buried. You are the one who has to go back. You are the one who has to hold their hand. You are the one who must say what no one else ever said. You didn't deserve that. You were just a child. You get to rest now. This is the beginning of healing. Not fixing, not performing, but witnessing. Healing from this doesn't start with solutions. It starts with grief. Because until you allow yourself to mourn what you lost, the childhood you never had, the protection you never received, you'll keep trying to earn what should have been freely given. This is what Carl Jung called shadow work, turning toward the parts of yourself you've buried. The needy child, the angry child, the scared child, not to fix them, but to witness them. Here's what that looks like practically. Step 1. Acknowledge what happened. Stop minimizing. Stop saying, it wasn't that bad, or other people had it worse. What happened to you was real. It was damaging, and it shaped you. Say it out loud. I was parentified. I grew up too fast. I didn't deserve that. Step 2. Identify the survival patterns. What did you learn in childhood that you're still doing now? Do you overfunction in relationships? Do you refuse help? Do you struggle to rest? Do you feel responsible for everyone's emotions? These are not personality traits. They are coping mechanisms, and they can be unlearned. Step 3. Parent your inner child. This sounds abstract, but it's deeply practical. Ask yourself, what did I need as a child that I never got? Maybe you needed someone to tell you it wasn't your fault. Maybe you needed permission to play. Maybe you needed to be held while you cried. Now, as an adult, you give those things to yourself. You tell yourself, it wasn't your fault. You were just a child. You give yourself permission to rest, to play, to need. You learn to speak to yourself the way you wish someone had spoken to you then. This is reparenting, and it's not indulgent. It's essential. Step 4. Set boundaries. This is where the healing gets uncomfortable, because boundaries mean disappointing people. It means saying no. It means letting others struggle without rescuing them. It means unlearning the belief that your worth is tied to your usefulness. And that's terrifying, because for your entire life, being useful kept you safe. But you're not a child anymore, and you don't need to earn your right to exist. You can say no, you can rest, you can need, and the people who truly love you will stay. Step 5. Allow yourself to grieve. The grief will come in waves. For the birthdays no one celebrated, for the tears no one wiped away, for the child who carried burdens that weren't theirs. Let it come. Don't rush it. Don't fix it. Just feel it. Because what was frozen is finally thawing. And that's not weakness. That's healing. Here's what changes when you do this work. You stop seeking parents in your partners. You stop mistaking anxiety for intuition. You stop running from vulnerability. You learn that softness is not weakness. That rest is not laziness. That needing is not betrayal. You start choosing people who give as much as you do. Relationships that don't feel like jobs. Love that doesn't require performance. You begin to trust that you are lovable not because of what you do, but because of who you are. And slowly, very slowly, you start to feel safe. Not in the world, but in yourself. This is what healing looks like. Not perfection, not the absence of pain, but the ability to sit with yourself without running. The ability to say, I see you, I hear you, and I'm not leaving. Let me say this clearly. Your maturity was never the problem. The problem was that you had no choice. You were forced to grow up, and that's not your fault. But now, you do have a choice. You can choose softness. You can choose rest. You can choose to stop managing everyone else's emotions and start honoring your own. You can choose to let the child inside you finally come home. And no, it won't happen overnight. There will be days you feel like a child again, scared, small, overwhelmed. Good. That's the point. Let that child come forward. Let them cry. Let them play. Let them be seen. Because you're not broken. You never were. You were just a child trying to survive. And you did. You made it. But survival is not the same as living. And now finally you get to live. Not through pressure. Not through fear. But through truth. You never had a childhood. But you still have a future. And this time, you get to write it. If this resonated with you, subscribe if this kind of depth speaks to you. And here's my question. If you could say one thing to the child you were, what would it be? Drop it in the comments. You don't have to explain. Just let them hear it. You didn't deserve what happened. You were just a child. And you get to rest now. I'll see you in the next one.